So this year's MVP discussion has been dominated by guys like Steph Curry, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kevin Durant, and even LeBron James. And although all of those guys deserve to be in discussion for the MVP, as they are kind of like the front runners, someone who I feel like hasn't got any type of love for the MVP award when he actually deserves to be at the top of the list is Ja Morant, who at the current moment is playing like a top 3-point guard in the league and a superstar. And I actually think he has a stronger case for the MVP than most people would think. It has led me to make this video where I'll be discussing Ja Morant's MVP case and the chance that he actually wins it. Before we get into the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video as it does help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content. Also, if you want to help me reach my goal of 3,000 subscribers, also drop a comment on this video as I do respond to all of my comments, and play the intro. Start the video off, I'm going to discuss all the positives of Ja Morant's case right now, and by far the reason he's in the case is due to the fact that at the current moment, Ja Morant is putting up some of the most impressive stats in the league, and there has never ever been an MVP who hasn't put up one of the best stat lines in the league. Morant's doing just that, as at the making of this video, he's averaging 25 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, shooting 48% from the field and 35% from 3. To put that in context, those numbers are more impressive than Derrick Rose's MVP season. I'm not saying he's better than Derrick Rose was back then. I'm not saying he's not better than Derrick Rose back then. All I'm saying is he's putting up numbers that we have seen previous MVP winners put up. I think those numbers are also more impressive than Steph Curry's 2015 MVP year. Although Ja Morant might not be putting up more impressive numbers than a lot of the other candidates like Kevin Durant, like Giannis Antetokounmpo, like LeBron or Jokic, he's still putting up one of the 8 best stat lines in the league right now, and that's something that is definitely helping his case for the MVP. Also, if we're being honest, at this current moment, I think he's putting up better numbers than Steph Curry. So at this point, I would definitely put him over Steph Curry in the MVP race. Another thing that is helping Ja Morant's case is the fact that his team right now, the Memphis Grizzlies, are actually winning a lot of games. At the making of this video, the Grizzlies have a 32-17 record, which is the 3rd best record in the league. They're also currently the 3rd seed in the Western Conference. Their record is so good that if the Grizzlies were in the Eastern Conference right now, they would be the 1st seed by 2 games. That just shows how terrific the Grizzlies have been. When it comes to winning the MVP award, you have to be the best player on at least one of the top 3 teams in the league most of the time, and at the current moment, Ja Morant is doing just that. He has a better record than most of the other candidates, and in my opinion, the 2 teams who have more wins than the Grizzlies right now simply don't have a player who should be above Ja Morant in the MVP race. The Phoenix Suns have the best record in the league right now by kind of like a significant margin, and I don't think Devin Booker or Chris Paul are seriously in MVP conversations. Maybe they should be, but they simply aren't. Also, neither of them are putting up impressive enough numbers. When it comes to the Golden State Warriors, I don't think Steph can be the MVP. He simply has just been way too long into his cold stretch, and he's just not putting up as impressive numbers. You can't be the MVP having a bunch of games where you go 5 for 20. When you're the MVP, you have to consistently be great all season. Steph has had way too much bad games. Also, I don't think Steph is as valuable to the Warriors as you might think. Yes, he is their most valuable player, and yes, he's very valuable. We have seen time and time again when Steph has terrible games shooting 5 of 20 from the field, the Warriors are just such a deep and talented team that they can still win games with him win games when he's playing terrible. When you look at the other candidates at this moment who might be above Ja Morant, but you have to realize that Ja's team actually has a better record. The Bucks with Giannis don't have a better record. The Philadelphia 76ers don't have a better record. The Lakers and Nuggets with LeBron and Jokic don't have a better record. The Nets with Kevin Durant don't have a better record. Out of all of the major MVP candidates, Ja Morant has a better record than most of them. And that's definitely something that should be in his case. Another thing you have to look at is just the talent of the team that Ja Morant is on right now. Because although the Grizzlies are a very talented team, don't get it twisted, they're one of the most deep teams in the league, a bunch of really good role players, they have a bunch of players who fit well together and know how to play their role at the highest level. But when you compare this team to a lot of the other MVP candidate teams, it's actually really impressive that Ja Morant's team has a better record than a lot of the other MVP candidates. Because Steph Curry actually has a better record than Ja Morant's team, and he should be doing that because he has way more help. But I won't say too much about Steph. When it comes to Kevin Durant, his team literally has another superstar on his team and a bunch of solid role players. He definitely has more help than Ja Morant on his team. Giannis Antetokounmpo has 2 other all-star level players surrounding him, along with a bunch of great three-point shooters and just great role players. He definitely has more help than Ja Morant. I won't lie, Nikola Jokic has way less help than Ja Morant, but he's still not winning enough to be a serious MVP. But even a guy like LeBron James coming to the season, everyone was for sure thinking that the Lakers were stacked. We just thought they had a bad fit. And to be honest, his players aren't stepping up. But you can make an argument that coming to the season, everyone was definitely expecting the Grizzlies to be worse than the Lakers, and they haven't. So that could be a nod to Ja Morant and his excellent play. Also, when you realize the Grizzlies are a team that have dealt with a significant amount of injuries, as a lot of their key players have missed nearly like a quarter of the season, and Dillon Brooks, who was their second leading scorer last season, only played half the year, and he's going to be missing way more time. It just makes it really impressive that the Grizzlies are winning, because they weren't expected to in the first place, and the fact that they're missing their second best scorer from last year and still winning is honestly really impressive. And that just has to give a lot of credit to Ja Morant and his great play. In my opinion, Ja Morant's MVP case reminds me a lot of Derrick Rose's MVP, because at least coming to this season, no one expected the Grizzlies to be one of the better teams in the league, yet they are. And back in Derrick Rose's MVP year, the prior year, the Bulls were like the 8th seed. Absolutely no one was expecting them to be like the best team in the NBA, at least record-wise. And as I've said, Derrick Rose and Ja Morant have been putting up identical numbers, but Ja Morant's have actually been better. Also, on both of those teams, their second best player was injured for most of the season. In Derrick Rose's season, Luol Deng missed most of the season, and in Ja Morant's season this year, Dillon Brooks has missed more than half the year. I think Desmond Bane and probably Jaren Jackson Jr. are better than Desmond Bane, but still, Dillon Brooks is one of their better players, and he's still going to continue to miss more time. Also, in their MVP years, neither Derrick Rose or Ja Morant had an all-star level player beside them. In 2011, Derrick Rose's second best player was probably Carlos Boozer or Joakim Noah, who are just 2 really good starters. And so far this season, the Grizzlies' second best player has probably been Desmond Bane, and he's just a really good starter. I wouldn't call him an all-star. So me saying all of this and comparing it to Derrick Rose's MVP year is just a way of showing that the way Ja Morant is playing and the way his team is playing and everything is something that we have seen in prior years with prior MVP candidates. And if we're being honest, the Grizzlies have just been fantastic, and Ja Morant definitely has to be talked about more in MVP race. And quickly, I want to add this in. If Ja Morant won the MVP year, I'm pretty sure he would be the youngest MVP in NBA history. And it kind of just relates to Derrick Rose's a lot. To talk about some MVPs about Ja Morant's MVP case, if I'm being honest, there actually is a few. Because although Ja Morant is putting up some of the best and most impressive numbers in the league, if we're being honest, there's still several candidates who have put up significantly more impressive numbers than Morant. First of all, Giannis Antetokounmpo's stat line of 28 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists is definitely more impressive than the numbers Morant is putting up. Kevin Durant's numbers of 29 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists are more impressive than Morant's numbers. Also, Nikola Jokic's numbers of 26 points, 14 rebounds, and 7 assists are more impressive. So right there, I just named 4 candidates who are putting up more impressive numbers. You could probably argue Joel Embiid is putting up more impressive numbers, but I don't think it's by a significant enough margin to where I should have pointed it out. But also, LeBron is putting up more impressive numbers. That's 6 players in the MVP race that have better numbers than Ja Morant. That doesn't mean he's not putting up MVP numbers. It just means that other players are putting up better MVP numbers. And another negative that I actually don't believe is that big of a deal, but a lot of people have started to bring it up, and it's the fact that Memphis actually has been winning a lot of games when Ja Morant was out with injury. I believe he was out for 8 games and they went 6-2. A lot of people started saying that he's not valuable to this team and that that should be like a reason why he doesn't win the MVP. And some idiots started to say that Memphis is actually better without him. That was just absolutely stupid. But most people are just saying that Memphis can win without him, meaning he's not as valuable as you think. And honestly, when you look at the teams that they faced when Morant wasn't playing, those teams were absolutely trash. They were either some of the worst teams in the league, or there were teams that were like average, but they were missing like significant players on their team. So none of those wins were really hard wins, if you know what I mean. Morant is definitely valuable to his team. They definitely need him if they want to go far. But even though I don't believe in this narrative, it is a narrative that a lot of people have started to believe. And I think when it comes to like actually discussing him to be in the MVP discussion, I think voters might like consider it, even though I don't think they should. But to conclude the video and just discuss where I rank Ja Morant as an MVP candidate right now, I honestly think he's top 5 in the MVP race right now, and I think he's just going to continue to go up. I think he's going to for sure surpass Kevin Durant, because Kevin Durant's going to be missing 10 to 20 games with his knee injury, unless Steph breaks out of his slump, which I do think he will do soon. It is Steph Curry, but I still think Ja Morant has already passed him in the MVP race. And if we're being honest, even if Steph returns and plays good, you can't just ignore a terrible 10 to 15 game stretch. He has been just terrible the last few months for his standards, but I still think he can get back in the MVP race because it is Steph Curry. You never can count him out. But I think Ja Morant has like a advantage over Joel Embiid because of the team record. I also think he's over LeBron and Jokic because of the team record. To be honest, the only player who I have for sure above Ja Morant in the MVP race right now is Giannis Antetokounmpo, because Giannis is putting up arguably the best stats in the league. He's doing on both sides of the floor, and although his team is not as good as Ja Morant's team, his team has dealt with a lot of injuries and they're slowly climbing up the ranks, and they're fully healthy right now. But there's still a chance that Ja Morant's team continues to have a significantly better record than Giannis's team. And there's a chance that the Bucks just never get to creep into being one of the top 5 teams in the league like they did last year. And if that's the case, I genuinely think Ja Morant can win the MVP. It just sucks that Ja Morant's not being talked about in the MVP in that way. Everyone's just going crazy about Ja Morant, but I hear absolutely no hype behind his name for the MVP race when there absolutely should be. But regardless, I am now a Ja Morant fan after this season. I love the way Memphis plays. I'm truly rooting for you guys. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Let me know whether or not you think Ja Morant has a legit argument for the MVP. Drop a like on this video to help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content. Also, if you want to reach my goal of 3,000 subscribers, drop a comment on this video as I do respond to all of my comments, and play that intro.